I have worked with hundreds of clients over the last 4.5 years, and these are the 3 biggest baby naming mistakes that I see parents make. And no, I'm not talking about forgetting to say the baby's name out loud, although I have done that mistake, or finding out that you gave them the initials of ass. Those are things to think about, but these are not the biggest naming mistakes. The biggest ones often lead to baby name regret, and we don't want that for any of you, okay? Hands down, the number one mistake that you can make is telling people the baby's name ahead of time before baby has arrived. And I'm going to tell you why, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of people in my comments telling me, oh, well, I was confident in my choice and I was never going to be one of those people that would change my mind. I loved the name. But here's the thing. Every single negative piece about a name can be like a crack in your confidence. On the opposite end, if they love the name, let's say your mother-in-law is like, oh my God, Kelvin, I love the name Kelvin. And she starts saying it so much that you start to be like, that is nails on a chalkboard to me. I don't love Kelvin anymore. They've gone and ruined a perfectly great name that you both loved. So we want to avoid any of those negative comments or any of those obnoxious comments about our favorite name. I did this with all 3 of my kids, okay? I named all 3 of my kids, did not tell anyone ahead of time. This was before I was a name consultant. So I know it works and I know it's worthwhile. And I would say I am someone who's incredibly close with my mom, my sister, my best friend, my dad, my brother, my in-laws. I love them all. I wanted to share the name with all of them, but I knew that this was going to be a fun surprise. They knew we were having a boy, and I wanted to have that like reveal moment, just like we all do on social media now with celebrities. It's a big deal to like see the name reveal, right? Keep it from your family and friends so that you get to announce something, especially if they know you're having a boy or a girl. My oldest son is named Ewan, E-U-A-N. I think we've talked about this before. So I do remember after he was born, my parents were like, oh, that's interesting. And they had a little moment where we talked about later that they probably would have had some like negative response if they first heard it without meeting it with my son. So it was like, here's your grandson, Ewan. They were thrilled. They were madly in love with him right away. On the other hand, Ewan is a very common name in Scotland, where my husband is from. You have to remember, like, just because it's not someone's cup of tea or they've never heard it before doesn't mean it's not a good name. I think as a group, as a society, we have to not take our first reaction to something new as our final reaction, okay? I have an example. Somebody in my comments section, she shared that her sister wanted to use the name Elvira. She and her family convinced the sister not to use it because of these dark memes or like negative connotation of the name Elvira, right? But then she's like, yeah, actually, I kind of like it now, to be honest. What, she could have used the nickname of Elvie. How cute would that be? Are you kidding me? You talked your sister out of a name. And now you like, oh, it would have been so cute. That is the situation that you are up against when you tell someone you're especially uncommon or even not uncommon. No one has any idea that the names Marin and Daphne are super popular and like probably in the 200s. Don't quote me. I don't have the whole top 1,000 names list memorized for the US. Although I wish I was memorized with that. That would not be a good use of your time, Stephanie. That would not be a good use of your time. I love to be able to like, oh, that's number such and such. I love to have the names and their rankings memorized. I would love that. I would just love it. Anyway, I think that can be really detrimental to hear someone's first initial negative reaction of a name when they might have fallen in love with it anyway. We don't need that. We don't want you to be swayed. The only 2 people that have to agree are you and your partner, you and your spouse, you and the other person raising this baby. Maybe there's 3 of you. I follow somebody on TikTok and there are 3 parents of this one child. 2 are together, one's not, but they're all like raising this baby together. Those 3 need to come up with one name they all agree on, okay? But you don't need to make sure your mom likes it, or your best friend, or your neighbor, or the other woman in your new mama class. You don't need to know. You don't need to know what they think of your top name, okay? Try this with me, please. Think back to a name that you originally thought was so weird and you just didn't like. I think of like Agnes or Agatha. that have grown on me over the years. The more I hear them and the more I look at them and the more I say them. And if I had gone with my first response to those names, I'd be like, oh, those are terrible vintage names. But I can imagine meeting a little Agnes and being absolutely obsessed. We all love Ida and Ada. Agnes is so similar. I think we forget that it does help to know the name is attached to this sweet little baby. So that is my recommendation. That's my number one mistake that people make, is telling people ahead of time, because it hurts their feelings. It makes them second guess everything. And it's just really not relevant. It's pointless. Now, I will say, as someone super freaking nosy, I wanted to know what my sister was going to use for a name when she was pregnant, and I think I found out ahead of time. But I wasn't going to give a negative reaction no matter what. This was, again, before I was a name consultant. My oldest is 11 years old, you guys. I don't know why I did this. I just knew that I wanted to do it. And then, of course, I asked my sister, I'm like, what are you going to name the baby? Can you tell I'm an oldest child? Anyway, I do think the right thing to do is to keep it to yourself. And if you've already told people, that's fine. And if you haven't, possibly, maybe tell them your second or third names or something else on your list. But don't tell them the name you're probably going to use, because it is special to you, and keep it that way, okay? The next biggest mistake that people make when naming a baby is changing their mind at the last minute. This is probably one of the biggest reasons that people experience name regret, and they will come to me with like a 3 or 4 year old and they're like, I at the last minute we decided this. Do not be swayed by a family member or a nurse. Oh my gosh, you ask her to pick the favorite of your top 2. If she picks one and your gut is like, oh, that's not right, go with the other one. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about hurting someone's feelings. They want you to be happy. They want you to choose the name that works for you. Or if your partner's like, you know what, it's an emotional time to give birth or to have your baby, right? What if your partner is like, I actually really don't like that name at all anymore? Talk through it. Don't do anything rash. Don't say, okay, well, let's throw it out then. It doesn't matter anymore. Don't do that. Pause and ask them why. Think about it. Take a day. Tell them you'll fill out the paperwork later. In the US, I feel like we are being pushed to fill out that paperwork right away. Ask for more time. It's better to do that than have to go back and change all the paperwork, right? So if your partner is like second guessing the name, find out the root cause of it. Is it because they keep thinking of this person they don't like with the name? Or is it because the baby doesn't look like it? Well, the baby doesn't look like any name, or it looks like all names. Or is it just like you're tired and I've had an induction and it's been 3 days and you haven't slept and no name is going to be great? I think some people get into that mindset. I've also had clients where nothing is good. They don't have any inspiration names. They don't love any name. They can't find anything they like. That's also a sign to me that like they don't really know what they want and there's an underlying issue, and it can often lead to like a last minute change if they finally just pick one. I do recommend going to the hospital or your place of birth with a short list of like 3 names, right? Go with that short list, but just know which one you're leaning towards, which one you're thinking about. And don't make any rash decisions if you're like, I've been leaning towards Penelope. Oh, it is so good. It's Poppy. We're going to call her Penny or Poppy. We're going to see which one comes out and which one makes more sense if she's a Penny or a Poppy. We love Penelope. And then you're just like, wait a minute. Why don't I just name her Poppy? That's amazing. I love the name Poppy, right? Don't do that unless you're 100% sure. But if it's the first time that you've thought of it, okay, let's take a minute. Let's take a breath, okay? Because Penelope can be Poppy, right? Now, there are people who are like, I love this nicknamey name. I'm like, go with it. Please use it if you love it. We've talked about nicknames in the past, and I need to do more videos on them because I love nickname names. I think they're perfection. I think they work as you get older. I don't care what people say. But I'm just saying, if you had not had that thought until after baby arrives, like take a second and really consider, do I actually want to have this as their full name? Or am I just like getting super excited about the possibility of calling them Poppy, right? Guys, naming is tricky. We talk about it. I like to say it's not that serious. Like, it should be a fun and whimsical thing. Like, we talk about, like, I love looking at names and finding new names from you guys and seeing what you end up choosing. And I do feel really good when someone comes to me and says, we decided to go with the name that we've been thinking about. That makes me so happy, because even though you've paid me to give you a ton more suggestions, or you've paid me to look at your list, I am so happy that you went with the one that you originally loved. That is a success in my book. That is we've covered our bases, we've had an objective third opinion, and we've used the name that we originally loved. Because I have a service called Audit My List where you guys can send me your information within 48 hours. hours, I'm going to give you my categories for you, extra suggestions, some name combinations, and maybe some eliminations. But I'm going to champion your top names, or at least tell you, kind of guide you into which I think should be your top names. Like, you don't have to pay for a full list if you don't need a full list of new suggestions. You can come to me to help kind of narrow down your top names. But I truly love when people use the name that they've been dreaming about and thinking about. That is a success for me. The last biggest baby naming mistake is dismissing a name because it is either too popular or too unique. This is an unnecessary rule that you are giving yourself. I'm going to tell you that right now. There is no name that is too popular or too unique. There is the name that is right for you and your family and your child, okay? I don't care if it's in the top 10. I don't care if it's another Olivia. Now, I personally would not choose Olivia or anything else in the top 10. And I love the name James and I love Noah, but I'm never going to choose those names. That's just something I know about myself. But it would be such a boring world if we were all the same, if we all liked the same type of names. We already have enough people looking for slightly uncommon and easy to say and spell, but not in the top 100. Who cares? You pick a name in the top 100, own it, love it, and say, yeah, this is the name we love. Or if you like a name that's past the top 1,000, it's super unique and you're worried like no one's ever heard this name, people are going to look at me like we have lost it. It does not make sense at all. I'm going to have to explain it, which I don't mind, but I just feel like this is just too unique. I'm too suburban and boring to use this name. I get it. I get those feelings and they're valid, but I don't think you should stop yourself from using the names that you truly love because they are to this or they are to that. That is a mistake. It is your life, your child. You need to own it and you need to be proud of the name you chose. So if you're going to be incredibly embarrassed to say, oh my God, my baby's name is, Dandelion, then don't choose it. It's kind of cute. I think I'd call a boy like Lion or Dell, and I'd call the girl like Dandy. I don't know. I'm just pulling this out of thin air, you guys. I kind of like dandelions too, especially when blowing the seeds. Okay. You could have all that imagery around their nursery. Okay. Focus, focus, focus. There is nothing that is too extreme or too common that you don't need to consider. You really don't need to narrow your vision so much that you don't include looking at these top names or these really weird, bizarre names. Like, if you like them, consider them, and maybe you'll whittle it down and you'll end up with a name in the 200s or the 500s, or there are names outside the top 1,000 that used to be popular and they just aren't anymore, and they're still very classic traditional names. I don't think you should tell yourself a certain rule. It's helpful for me, I guess, when you say, okay, I like this type of name or this outside of this, the top 100, but for yourself, really avoid giving yourself too specific of guidelines. And we've talked about this in my baby name blueprint. The best thing you can do is to narrow down your style. That's what you should be looking at. What is my actual baby name style? If it is a nature name, well, Dandelion fits, but so does Rowan, which is incredibly popular, right? So does Lily, which is also incredibly popular. You don't need to limit yourself when it comes to popularity. That is a big mistake. While there are more baby naming mistakes, those are just my 3 biggest ones. I'm curious if you agree, or if there's something else you think I should add to my list, please let me know. And I'm going to leave you guys with my nicknames video because it is super fun, and I do love a name that has a lot of great nicknames. I'm also always looking for more questions that I can answer that you guys might have regarding baby names and all things whimsical. I'm currently in Italy when this video goes live. Woo, ciao. And I hope to come back with some amazing Italian names for you guys. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it. We'll see how much inspiration I come up with. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Happy naming!